think one of the defining symbols of Yorkshire are the many miles of dry stone walls. I've come to beautiful South Yorkshire to meet a dry stone waller called Les Young, who dedicates his time to building a long-lasting memorial. Les first came to Silkstone Common near Barnsley 7 years ago. He loves the outdoors and Nabs Wood became a regular place for walking his dog. Unknown to Les, it was also the site of the former Huskar Pit, where children were part of the workforce. A place where 170 years ago a terrible tragedy occurred.
As I walked through this wood, I just had a feeling that there was something really terrible had gone on in the wood. And it was only until a week or so later that I actually found out what actually happened in these woods. On the 4th of July in 1838, there was a terrific hailstorm. These hailstones were actually landing on top of an engine which was feeding a pulley system into one of the local pits. It actually put out the fire for the steam engine. And although the adults told all the children to go and gather under the main shaft, the children started panicking and they started looking for another alternative way out.
This is the actual hole that the children were trying to climb up towards then?
That's exactly right, yes. They would be coming out of the drift entry,
yes,
and trying to get themselves out of here when the stream across here broke its banks, rushed down the drift entry and hit the ventilation door about 20 to 30 metres down into the drift entrance itself. And unfortunately that resulted in 26 that's what it's all about, the children dying.
Affected by the tragedy and wanting to make a lasting contribution to the memory of the children, Les has set himself the massive task of rebuilding the dry stone wall around the wood where the Huskar Pit disaster took place. By holding dry stone walling courses, Les is speeding up the process and teaching people an ancient craft at the same time. It seems to me there's a lot of preparation involved in walling, actually.
There is, yeah. It's the way I like to do things is to get the site prepared completely before we even put a stone in the wall.
Right.
And what we do is when we're stripping down a wall, we strip out its component parts and line stone out, having ranks of stone, all of a similar size and width. So the basic principle that we're adhering to is 2 on 1, 1 on 2, and we're basically covering the gaps in between the stone. And a little tip here, Ian.
Yeah.
If you're looking for stone, if you put your hand in,
yes,
and you can judge the width of stone that you want, and if you turn your hand and put your fingers next to the adjacent stone, you can see the actual height that you want.
Okay.
Okay. So if you have a look around, Ian.
Would that be too big then?
No, that should be fine, that.
And are you looking for a flat edge on outside? Because this is very neat and this is a bit ragged, is this edge on here?
Yeah, we try and get as flat as possible, yeah.
Could I trim that up with an hammer then?
Of course you can, yeah.
Shall I do all that?
Yeah, you can do.
Just to try and...
Yeah, if you just nibble a bit off there. What we need to do is when we're putting stones into the wall, is to look down the line.
Yes.
And make sure that we're not protruding out from the line.
Dry stone walls are an enduring part of the Yorkshire landscape and date back thousands of years.
And the Enclosures Act came in and there was a great need to fence in the land. It was then that the people started using stone that they found just in a field that they ploughed up. Mum, Dad and the kids used to pack the bags of put whatever they could on the back of a donkey and go up the fell side on a Monday morning and live and eat and sleep right next to the wall and then return on Saturday afternoon ready to go to church on Sundays.
When you look at some of the dry stone walls though, particularly on upland areas, they look as though they've grown out at landscape, don't they?
Yeah, they do, yeah. They're just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And as a wall will actually settle once it's built. And, you know, it takes a hell of a lot to knock that wall down. Yeah. And even if it is in a poor state of repair, it can still act as a barrier to keep your livestock enclosed within that field.
Yeah. Although many walls have stood for hundreds of years, if not maintained and repaired, walls soon succumb to weather and fall down like the ones at Nabs Wood. This is a good example of the walls in disrepair.
Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do with that apart from rip it out all the way down to its foundations.
That's right, yeah. And obviously with the wood growing and the saplings coming through the wall, it's knocked it all over.
It looks crumbly and mucky now, but it can be reused. I mean, that's a perfectly good piece of stone.
Absolutely,
that'll be in the new wall.
That's right, yeah.
And is the idea to use as much untouched stone as possible? Is it preferable to find stones that you can use direct from the earth, rather than knocking bits off?
Yeah, obviously most wallers get paid for the amount of yards that they put up in a day.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a stone that'll fit straight away.
Okay.
And there's some purists say that you should never use a hammer. But,
I was just going to ask that. Is it frowned upon to be chipping bits off?
In some areas, yeah, and there's in some competitions you're not allowed to use a hammer.
A memorial to the children who died stands in All Saints' Church. The great sadness is that most of the villagers accepted what happened without questioning it.
It was quite interesting to read about the inquest which was held in the Red Lion in Silston Village, how the families reacted to it, and they weren't there blaming the mine owner or blaming anyone else. They just saw it as an act of God. It just happened. It was an accident.
And when you know the ages of them children, it's even more terrifying and tragic, isn't it? Because some of them were as young as what?
There was children as young as 7 and as old as 17. But there was family lost more than one child in that disaster. It must have been absolutely heartbreaking. When you're doing your exams, this is a critical part, and the examiner will ask you to give him a call when you're ready to put your through stones onto the wall. You're a bit young to be a dry stone waller.
I've taken a gap year from going to university, and I thought I was doing something productive. It's a change, rather than just working in a restaurant that other people my age do. But just for now, I'm happy doing this. Really, I can't think about better.
And with these artings, it's just a matter of. Is it a matter of placing them in, or are you still trying to build and wedge them in with these then?
No, you just place them into the little gaps that appear when you are walling. We use what we call heartenings, which is the packing in the middle of the wall, to make sure that everything's nice and tight. Okay. So the wall will move when it's built, but because of all the heartenings in the middle of the wall and its abrasive qualities, it'll basically glue the wall together.
Have you found it an easy thing to pick up, or?
No, I haven't. It's like we were saying earlier, are you good at jigsaw puzzles? And with these really small stones, nothing seems to fit right. And it's to begin with, it was quite frustrating.
Teaches you patience, definitely. It gives an insight into how they were built in the past, how families trudged up on the hills. And the fact that it's done with no cement and anything else, it's quite a thing the way they stand up and don't come down.
It took the terrible events at the Huskar Pit to wake England up to the fact that children were working underground in appalling conditions for long periods.
The newly crowned Queen Victoria was not amused, and she made sure that there was a commission set up, and it was eventually headed up by Lord Shaftesbury, and he looked into the working conditions not only in Britain's mines but also in Britain's factories. And some of the stories that came out from that commission were just unbelievable. The way that we treat our children, the way that they were exploited, is unbelievable. And eventually that commission resulted in the 1842 Factories Act, where it prevented children of a certain age and women from working in dangerous environments.
Let's talk about this project then, because you must admire what Les is trying to do.
I think it's an absolutely fantastic project. It's going to take a long time to complete, but it's a wonderful idea, and if we can get him all, if we can get the stone here and everything else to keep building it, and people coming on courses like this, I don't think I shall see it finished anyway.
Might take another 200 years to achieve the mammoth task of finishing the whole perimeter wall. But for today at least, with another section of the wall rebuilt, Well, I get the honour of putting the last stone in today, don't I?
You do indeed.
I hope it fits. In.
Perfect.
What's what's the chances of that stone being here when I come back here in 50 years' time?
Every chance.
Really?
Yeah.
This wall that you're building now, you talked about the older walls have lasted 100, 200 years. Will your modern wall last that long?
We've used all the correct building techniques, so I'm confident that it'll last at least 250 years. And there's not many trades or crafts that can actually say that, you know, my great-great-great grandchildren will be able to see what I've actually built.